Hi guys, it's Nicole here, the Harmonious Hippy. I just want to start off today's video by saying Happy Diwali to any of you who are celebrating that. In honor of that, today's practice will be centered around bringing in light and goodness into your psyche, into your life. As well, we're going to be doing a lot of heart opening and back bending today. So if you do have blocks available to you, please bring 2 with you to your practice today. If you only have 1 available, that's fine. Maybe bring a couple of pillows that you can stack up, or alternatively, if you have some thick books, that can also work if you can stack those up in a way that is sturdy for you to put some weight on. Otherwise, all you need is you, and let's get started. Okay guys, so just getting started here, I am lighting some Palo Santo. Palo Santo is a wood that is really, really nice. It has a nice sweet smell to it. It is really good for bringing in positive energy, clearing your energy space, that kind of thing. You can also burn sage or another type of herb if you would like. And if you are gonna have candles around you, as usual, please just do ensure that you are careful and that you're not getting too close to them. I will be watching these ones. If anyone sees me too close to these and is concerned, these ones are fake. So don't be worried if I roll over really close to these ones. It's the foot ones I'm gonna watch out for. And as usual, if you are burning sage, just a reminder that sage does continually burn. It usually won't out itself. So if you are burning sage, please ensure that you either have it on a plate or that you fully put it out before you get going with your practice. Okay, so coming to a comfortable seat, let's start on a pillow if that's comfortable for you. You can also sit up on a block. You want to get that anterior tilt to the pelvis, have the knees below the hip joints. I know I'm not quite there with my one side, but wherever is comfortable for you. We're not going to be here for too long. We're just going to start off here. So you can just bring the hands to the knees, closing down the eyes, rising up nice and tall through the crown of the head, moving your breath in and out through the nose. Your palms can be face down for grounding or face up to receive. Now tuning into the body here. More specifically, let's tune in directly to our heart space today. Just bringing your attention to the center of the chest and noticing what immediately happens, or what immediate reaction you had when I said to bring your attention to your heart space. Did you begin to close up maybe? Perhaps the shoulders automatically started to kind of curl forward almost to protect that space. Or perhaps you felt that you were totally ready for that, almost extending that heart space out. No judgments here for whatever you did notice. Maybe you didn't notice anything. That's totally fine. Just beginning to send your breath into that space and trying to soften there. I could go on a nice long hippie rant about the walls that are up around our heart spaces and trying to breathe that away and allowing ourselves to love and experience love, but it's not always necessary. And while true for some, for others it can just be more of a physical thing. Just feeling the need to open across the chest, breathe in fully and deeply. And those of us who have jobs where we type all day long or are at computers for a long period, especially those of us with cell phones nowadays as well, we tend to hunch forward, curl forward. It's very important to take some time out of your day to just peel the chest open, roll the shoulders back, bring the chin up level. No text neck here. Noticing if anything's changed now that you've been here for a moment. Breathing space into that heart center. Perhaps you're noticing or feeling like you almost want to open up more or shine the chest forward and up. I invite you to feel whatever it is you're feeling here and let that be what you choose to follow. If you do want to tilt the head back slightly, just ensuring that you're not going into a full back bend here, just nice and gentle. If you do want to tilt upwards slightly, almost as if the sun were beating down on you and you want to lift your face to feel the sun. Throughout our practice today, I really invite you to tune into the body as always, but really move slowly today and try to notice what you're feeling in your body. Notice the things that make you feel good, and maybe ignore me here and there and stay just a breath longer in things that you're really enjoying. And just really focus on what feels good for your body and your mind today. Focusing on joy and comfort. So I'm just going to take a couple of cleansing breaths here. So taking a deep breath in through the nose and opening the mouth, sigh that out. Do that twice more. So deep inhale through the nose, gather up any last bits of stress or tension. And opening the mouth, let that go. Last one, reflect on your day and how you're feeling and breathe deeply in through the nose. And out the mouth, release that. Great job. So we are going to remove our prop now and roll over onto our hands and our knees. If you have tender knees, you can always bring a folded up blanket underneath your knees. You can bring a pillow under your knees, whatever is most comfortable for you. I have quite a thick mat, so it's usually okay. But just do what feels the most comfortable for you in this moment. If you're unable to go on your knees at all, you can always stay seated, cross-legged, and you can do some cat-cows by holding onto your ankles and inhaling the chest forward and exhaling it, curling it back. Otherwise, if we're on our hands and knees here, we are going to move into cat-cows. So on your inhale, just dropping the belly and beginning to lift the gaze upwards if it's comfortable on your neck. If not, you can leave the gaze neutral. Deep inhale, letting the belly drop. And then on our exhale, pressing into the hands, pulling the upper back apart and squeezing that air out. Squeezing navel to spine. Inhale, dropping the belly. Gaze comes up. And exhale, curling the spine, squeezing that breath out. Once more, inhale, dropping the belly. And exhale, squeezing the belly and curling up into the spine. Going back to a neutral spine here, we're going to move into a thread the needle. So we're going to plant our left hand and inhale, sweeping the right arm up and open. I'm very sore from the gym today, so I cannot go very far, and that's totally fine. Just breathing some space into the body and finding where you're comfortable. And then on your exhale, threading that right arm underneath the left, twisting from the upper back here. You can bring the side of the head down onto the ground. You just want to make sure that you don't have too much pressure on the neck here. You want to be resting on the side of the head and mostly the shoulder that's twisted there. So really twisting your upper back here. You can stay here, you can take that left hand and reach it up overhead and help twist your upper body open. Making sure you're taking deep breaths in and out through the nose. Your hand is extended, bringing that down back in front of your face and pressing into the left hand, sweeping the right arm up and open. Even on me, you can see here how much that's already opened my arm up. Love that one. So bringing that right hand back down. We're going to repeat that on the other side. So inhale, sweeping that left arm up and open. And exhale, threading underneath here. Bringing that side shoulder down, the side of the head, twisting yourself open. Again, you can stay here, you can sweep that arm up overhead, helping to twist that upper body open. Breathing deeply into the upper back. And if you have the hand extended, just bringing that back in front of the face, pressing into that right hand and sweeping the left arm up and open. And exhaling back down. We're gonna come rock back here so that we're sitting on our heels. For some who have very tight ligaments and muscles in the tops of the feet, this might be very uncomfortable. You'll notice usually you'll be one or the other. Some people are good with both, but I notice for this is a lot more comfortable for me than if I were to curl my toes under and try to sit back. That's very intense on my toes. So just for fun, just noticing which one you are. It's like being a lefty or a righty. There's no right or wrong here. I mean, I guess ideally you could have both be nice and open, but hey, in a perfect world, we could all, I don't know, do a headstand with no hands. But it's not a perfect world, but we are perfect where we are. My apologies. I laugh at my own jokes too much, apparently. So just sitting back on those feet, you can start to twist the feet out a little bit, almost as if we're gonna come into hero pose. So if you do wanna open those feet and you can sit your bum flat down in between the feet, that's great. Otherwise, you can grab a block. Oh, okay. And you can set that down and bring your bum onto that with your heels out wide. Or you can always just stay sitting flat on the feet with the feet in. Whichever works. We're gonna bring our hands behind the back and start to interlace the fingers here. Now, if you're like me and you have quite large shoulders, this can be a bit difficult for you. So if we are trying to keep our palms together here, and as opposed to something like this, instead of letting the fingers separate, in doing that, it can be quite hard to keep the arms straight. That's totally fine. Just come to where you're comfortable. Make sure you're rolling the shoulders up and back. Taking a deep breath here. Inhale, and then exhale, and then inhale, and let's start to sink those hands down our bums. You can also grab for opposite elbows if that's more comfortable. If you have a strap that you would like to use, you can go ahead and do that. But just think of sinking those hands down the back and opening the heart up. Without leaning back, you don't want to be like this. Try to stay upright. This is actually a little hard on my knees here, so I might lift my block up one here. Again, doing what's comfortable for you. If you want to come to a pillow or something, that's totally fine if this is really hard on your legs. You can also come up almost as if you're doing a camel pose and keep the upper thighs straight instead of sitting back on your heels, and then you can interlace the fingers here and start to sink back. Again, pressing forward as if you would in a normal camel pose. Press the hips forward and make sure that you're not just cracking the back in half. You want to make sure you go up and over so that you're keeping the lower back healthy. So you can start to protract the chin and then start to sink back wherever you are here. If that's hard on your neck, you can always keep the chest, or sorry, the head up. But just thinking of expanding across the chest and really pulling down here with the arms to really open across the shoulders. Breathing deeply, making sure that the shoulders aren't crunching up, releasing that down long in the neck. And then exhaling, coming back forward, releasing that down. We're gonna come down off our blocks now if you are on one. And we are going to just do some quick wrist exercises here. So coming back into your tabletop position, try and ensure that your middle finger is pointed at the top of your mat. And then just slowly starting to rock forward and back. Very slowly here, making sure that the wrists are comfortable, pressing into all of the knuckles here. And just gently moving with what feels right for your body today. If you type a lot, this might feel very hard, which I am noticing. And now we're gonna rotate the fingers out to the sides. Same thing, just starting to move side to side. Again, moving very slowly, making sure that you're not doing any jarring movements into the wrists here. If you'd like, you can start to make little circles here. Making sure that we're keeping the core engaged and not just dumping into the back. Tighten that, navel to spine, keeping the back safe. And I'm switching directions with those circles. And then we're going to flip the hands over so that the fingers are pointing towards our knees and we're on the tops of the hands. You can do one at a time or both if that's comfortable, trying to keep the elbows straight here. Similar to the toes, I find that you'll be one or the other more comfortably on this wrist issue as well, either leaning forward with those wrists or bending into these forearms will be more comfortable for you. I'm great on the forearms. Let me tell you, using my wrists, whew, trying to make little fists here. And then sitting right back onto your heels again, or whatever's comfortable for you, just giving those a shake. Up and down as well as side to side with the shaking. And then bringing the hands to a heart center, pressing the tips of the fingers together, and then starting to sink the hands down. You'll feel the stretch here in the inner wrist. Making sure that you're still breathing, shoulders aren't up at the ears. And then starting to rotate that to point down. Now, I've been told that ideally you should be able to point your middle finger at the ground here. So as you can see, again, not ideal. But if you're like me here, have fun with it, laugh at yourself, know that you have space to grow, which is always fun. And if your finger is pointing right at the ground, well, then you don't have anything to worry about with your wrists. We all have things to work on, right? Just leaving the judgment at the door, shaking that out. And we're going to move into standing now. So coming to standing however you would like, moving slowly, making sure you're not coming up too quick. We're gonna come into Tadasana, mountain pose at the top of the mat. I've already got something on my shirt. What else is new? Strong Tadasana, tilting that pelvis, pointing the tailbone down into the ground. And I've heard of a new cue today that I'll share with you guys to help you engage the pelvic floor and the core as well. So typically what we would cue is to drop the tailbone, tilt the pelvis, navel to spine, which is all great. I can feel my core here, that's not wrong. that feels great. But to help with engaging the pelvic floor, especially for when teaching men who don't necessarily know what a Kegel is, I've recently just heard, think of taking your hips and imagine that you are trying to pull your hip joints in towards each other and feel the core switch on when you try to do that. So just try that a couple times. Let's take a deep inhale, let the belly out. We're not here to show off. There's no room for ego in yoga. Let your gut out. Inhale, stretching the belly, and exhale, squeezing that core in, and now hip joints pulling in towards each other, feeling that switch on. Hold that there for a moment, and inhale, release the belly. Exhale, squeeze in. Hip joints coming towards each other, engaging in the core. Squeeze, 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 and release. Just back to normal breathing here. So just something fun that you can think of, another way to engage in the core. So coming to your strong Tadasana, core engage. Lifting up all 10 toes here, feeling that engagement, the energy moving up through the arches of the feet. And then one by one, placing those toes back down. Keeping that feeling of energy pulling up through the soles of the feet. Legs are active, knees are pulling up the legs, the shoulders are rolling up and back, chest is open. Nice and strong and sturdy here. Taking a deep inhale through the nose. And exhale. Inhale, sweeping the arms up overhead, palms come to touch. And we are going to take a little back bend here. So as usual, ensuring that you are tucking the tailbone and that you're not just cracking in the middle of your back and your lower back. You want to feel as if you're going up, growing tall through the rib cage without lifting the shoulders. Nice and tall, grow, 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 and then think of going up and over a beach ball. So you really want to stay safe and engaged in the core so that you aren't causing an injury in the lower back. So engaging core, palms are up, and tucking the pelvis, and we go up and over our beach ball, coming into our little back bend here. Doesn't have to be far, and it'll be farther than it feels, I promise you. And then exhaling, we're swan diving down into our forward fold. You can heavily bend the knees here. Letting the head hang heavy. Perhaps shaking the head yes and no. You can reach for opposite elbows. You can rock side to side if that's comfortable. Just releasing into that. You can try straightening one leg and bending the other. Or you can just keep both knees bent. Whatever feels best for you. We're gonna inhale, hands to shins, halfway lift, flat back here. And exhale, fold. Just hanging here. Bending the knees heavily, we're gonna ragdoll roll slowly, slowly up. Head is the last thing to come up. And rolling the shoulders up and back. Now we are going to move into a sun salutation. If you would like to keep the pressure off your wrists today, you can feel free to skip the vinyasa part in the center. And just meet us in a downward facing dog. If downward dog is also too much for you today, that's totally fine. You can come into a tabletop position or whatever works for you in your space today. So we're gonna take a deep inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. You can take your little back bend here again, up and over. And exhale, swan dive down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And exhale, fold. Planting the hands. You can step or hop back to your high plank. You can take a full chaturanga here or drop the knees and come through knees, chest, chin. And sweeping forward into either up dog or cobra. And then exhaling back into downward facing dog. Pedaling out the feet here. Pressing into the fingers, sinking back with your chest, but then noticing if you're just winging out in the rib cage and letting the belly hang here. You want to, again, engage that core, navel to spine, and knit the rib cage together. Nice and strong here. And we're going to plant our left foot and inhale our right foot up into the sky, opening the hip, equal weight in both hands. And you can three-legged dog, open that hip. And coming back through center, we're gonna sweep that right leg up to the top of the mat. As graceful as possible. We are now in a high lunge here. We made it. And you can go ahead and drop that back knee. Again, if you would like to place something under your knee, go ahead. We're gonna sweep the arms forward into our Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Pressing into the top of that back foot can also help relieve some pressure on the knee. And noticing when you're sinking here, are you like this? Are you hinging out, back bending, letting the belly just fall open? Just noticing that and making sure that even in poses like this that feel like we really want to be deeply stretching, still bringing some strength to that pose. So ensuring the knee is always lined up over the ankle joint. You can sink into that hip flexor. Ooh, sorry, I'm having painful knees today. I get my pillow. So sinking into that hip flexor, coming forward. But then tucking the pelvis still so that your tailbone isn't fully in a back bend here. You want to still be nice and strong in the legs, engaging the core. Make sure that the rib cage is not splaying out. So keeping that all nice and together while stretching into that hip flexor. Hands come down, and we're gonna sink the bum back, lifting up the toes, pointing them right at the sky, and thinking chin to shin so that you keep the back nice and straight here, just coming to where you find a lot of sensation in the hamstring. And inhaling forward, we're going to pop the back foot here, and then we are going to open up that back toe so that we are in a extended side angle footing here. So we've got the front toes pointing at the front of the mat, the back toes are parallel, and we're going to prop the elbow on the thigh and start to twist open, almost as if we're in a triangle pose here, but we've got the bent knee. And now what we're going to do is bring our arm, so turn it backwards so the palm is facing the back of the room as if you're doing some interesting swimming. And then bring that around behind you as if you were going to do a bind. If you have shoulder issues, you can leave the arms straight up, that's totally fine. Just starting to work that shoulder joint to sort of begin to feel what a bind would feel like here. And twisting the chest open to the ceiling. Breathing. And inhaling, releasing that arm back up. And we can windmill ourselves back down, twisting that toe back to our high lunge. And beginning to plant the hands again. And wiggle that foot open. And again, now coming into our dragonfly pose, we can drop the back knee. And if you would like, you can twist that front foot open 45 degrees and just sink into that hip. If you'd like to bring a block here, you can totally do that. Just feeling what's comfortable here. and breathing into the discomfort. Hip openers can be quite intense, so just taking your time here. Breathing. Noticing if you're gripping anywhere, seeing if you can just release that a little bit. Beginning to move out of that pose. Oh, we're gonna wiggle our toes back into the center here, popping back off that back foot and planting the hands. Let's sweep that leg back into the air, not knocking our candles down, and placing that leg down. Now, you'll notice, perhaps, if you did the same legs as me, that was all on one side. Sorry, I'm trying to catch my breath here. So we are now going to repeat all of that again on the other side. So whenever you are doing yoga, even if you're just trying to maybe do a pose for a pick or something like that, please make sure that you always even yourself out and do both sides. So now we're gonna kick that left leg up into the air, opening that up into your three-legged dog, releasing the hip. And bringing that back down, we're gonna sweep it through into our high lunge here. Again, if you need something under your knee, bring that over. And we're gonna drop the knee, sweeping the arms up into our Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Again, checking in here, making sure that you're bringing some strength to the pose. So knee over ankle, sinking into that hip joint while keeping the pelvis from splaying too much. You want to keep that tucked, navel to spine, arms up nice and strong. And then exhaling, we're gonna lift the toes, start to lean back, chin to shin, feeling into that hamstring. Take a few breaths here. And inhaling back forward, we're gonna pop up off those back toes again. And beginning to wiggle the foot out. You can start to come down. You can drop that back knee into your dragonfly pose. If you would like to open the toes on the bent knee to about a 45-degree angle, you can grab a block here, sinking into the hip. Sending the breath into that hip and glute. And coming back up, we're gonna wiggle that foot back into the center here, popping up off the back toe. And again, we're gonna rotate that back foot so that we have our left toes now facing the top of the mat and our back foot is parallel, bringing the elbow to the thigh. And we're gonna sweep open with the chest. And again, twisting that hand so that the palm is facing back and beginning to move that arm back behind you as if you were gonna come into a bind. Peeling that shoulder open, gaze can be up at the ceiling or down at the floor. Navel to spine, keeping the core nice and tight. Remembering to breathe. And inhaling, releasing the arm back up. And we can go ahead and windmill back down to the ground. Planting the hands here. We can step our foot back into our downward facing dog and release both feet. And now releasing the knees down out wide and bringing the big toes to touch, sinking back into our wide-legged child's pose. Forehead comes to the mat. Letting the tailbone sink heavy towards your heels. Now taking a moment here to check in with your body. What are you feeling here? Are you feeling sensation in the body? Perhaps this has been hard work for you. Or maybe it was just me, I don't know. Perhaps you're sweating. Or maybe you're thinking, Nicole, you're crazy. I feel fine. Whatever you feel here, just letting it go, releasing it into the ground, releasing any tension, any judgment or disappointment. Up to this stage, just let it go. And then slowly coming back up, removing any props that you have here. Making sure you're not knocking your candles over. We're gonna come back to standing again, but we're gonna come through a downward dog. So planting the hands here, curling the toes under and lifting the hips high. And we're gonna slowly start to walk our hands back towards our feet. And then bending the knees, ragdoll, roll up slow. The head is the last thing to come up. And then have a nice shoulder roll at the top. Alrighty, we're gonna move into some balancing poses now. So preparation here for tree pose. Excuse me while I not so subtly deal with my boob sweat. We're going to plant the feet both down strong and start to sink our weight into the right leg. So this is not gonna look like this. It almost needs to be undetectable. The weight just shifts over into that foot. Maybe the left leg can float. Trying that out a couple times. And to come into your tree, you can either bring your toes to the inside of your ankle. If you'd like to move deeper, you can start to draw the foot up onto the calf here. And just steadying yourself at each point, moving slowly here. Gazing at a single unmoving point. If you would like to go even higher, you can reach down, slow movements, small movements. Grab that foot and pull it up into the inner thigh. And maybe you could go fully into it yesterday and today you find you can't. Don't get frustrated with yourself. Everyone's balance is different every day. So pressing the foot into the leg and pressing the leg into the foot. Hands can come to heart center. And if you're ready, you can open up your branches. Perhaps start to shift the gaze towards the sky. See how that feels. If you fall out, that's totally fine. And gracefully releasing, knee stays bent for 1 second, and then placing that down, give that a little wiggle. And moving into the other side, so planting your feet, and then moving the weight over to the left, perhaps the right foot floats off the ground. You can, again, bring the heel into the ankle here. Perhaps this is your tree pose. If you'd like to come further in, you can bring the heel up to the calf, shin area. Just making sure that it's never on your knee. If you'd like to come higher, again, slow movements, reaching for that foot, bringing it up into your inner thigh. And you may notice that one leg is different from the other. I can usually get my heel all the way up on the other side, but on this side, I try, but it just won't stick. So while we do say to make sure that you are even on both sides, also totally fine if you can't quite get as far on one side from the other. You can open your branches here if you feel steady. Gaze can come up. And then coming back out, nice and graceful, lifting the knee and releasing the foot down, giving that a little wiggle there. Ooh. We're gonna move into dancer pose now. So I'm gonna turn back sideways here. So if you would like to bring a strap, you can totally go ahead and do that. I find I like to bring a little hand towel with me. Sometimes I don't have one with me today just because I sweat so much. I find that I feel I can do the pose, but I can't get the grip because my hands are so sweaty. So fingers crossed for me for today. So we're gonna start with our right foot. So again, strong, rooting down into both of the legs. We're gonna bring our weight over into our left leg, perhaps the right foot lifts, and then reaching down with the right arm, twist the palm open to the side of the room, and then take the palm to the inside of your foot, of your right foot. Just like a little quad stretch here. I also like to peace fingers grip my big toe, just to give me a little extra grip here. So noticing if you've opened the hips up or if you're still facing front. Pressing down into that left leg, keeping the hips nice and level. You can raise the left arm up, and if you would like, you can start to kick the foot back into the hand while pulling against the foot with the hand, and start to sink forward, keeping the knee pointing down towards the floor though, so you don't want to hinge the hip open. So just starting to come down, keeping a micro bend in that front knee, coming to where you can. If you fall out, that's fine. Ooh, and it burns in that left foot, doesn't it? Whew. Attempting to come out as gracefully as you came in. And we're gonna switch sides now. So again, just observing the differences that you notice between the two sides. No judgment. Maybe one side can go further than the other. Totally fine. That's actually normal, usually. So sinking the weight into that right foot, rooting down to rise up. Perhaps the left foot comes off the ground. Again, rotating that left palm open to the side and reaching for the inside of that foot. Pausing here, ensuring that the hips are straight. You can raise that right arm and beginning to kick back with the foot while pulling with the hand. You can start to sink forward again, checking in with those hips, noticing if your hip is opening to the side. Try and keep that pointing down as you come forward, keeping the chest nice and open, don't collapse here. And then coming out when you're ready. Whew. Giving that a shake. Have a little dance party that is rough on the feet. Woo. We're gonna come down now onto our backs. So keep your blocks close because we're gonna use those right away here. Ooh. And we are going to first just come down right flat onto your back with the knees bent and bring the knees up into the chest. Give yourself a little squeeze here, roll around a little, releasing that lower back. Y'all, woo, I am dying today. Probably because I have about 150 candles burning by my yoga mat, but I am sweating. Releasing the legs down. And let's release the left leg all the way down. Wiggle around here. If like me, when you release that leg down, your bum cheek is in the way, just give yourself a little wiggle side to side and that'll kind of displace the bum cheek. And pulling the right knee into the chest. And now starting to rotate the right knee across the body. You can open that left, the right arm out wide and trying to keep that right shoulder planted on the ground. So if your right knee doesn't quite touch the ground, that's totally fine. You want to feel the twist, but you also want to make sure that your upper body stays on the ground. So just releasing into that twist. And inhaling the gaze back to center, followed by the body. Now we're going to switch sides. So pulling that left knee into the chest, releasing the right leg out long, and squeezing that knee in. And releasing the left arm out long beside you and starting to twist that left knee over to the right. Making sure you keep that left shoulder planted. Breathing into the twist, giving your organs a little massage. Inhaling the head back to center, followed by the body. And you can roll over to your side and just prop yourself up here. We're gonna bring our blocks out now. If you only have one block, you can ignore this tall one that I've got here and just use the middle one. So this is gonna be a heart opener. Depending on how much heart opening you like and how flexible your upper back is, you may wanna change the height of your block. I like about a mid height here, so I'm gonna keep mine up in the middle. You can also do this nice and flat. I would not suggest doing the highest one here. So tallest, let's do the mid one at most. But making sure you're comfortable, and you can always move. Once you've laid down, you can come back up and change it. You're not stuck where you are. You can also bring pillows onto this if this is too harsh for you. And if you don't have this top block here, you can also just stack up some pillows. So we're gonna try to come down with where your bra strap would be, or sort of right before you finish off with your rib cage, or the end of your rib cage, as a normal person would say. So sort of that like middle-ish area is where you want the bottom, oh that's too high, the bottom of the block to line up. You'll know, like I just did, when you lay down if it feels like it's too high. So you want to be somewhat nearing the end of your rib cage. Ooh, but not too low that you're starting to get into your lower back. And just letting the spine and the chest fold open over that block. It's still a little too low here. And just finding what's comfortable. You can move around a lot. There's no set thing here. Here we go. And if you do have this top block, just bringing it down under the crown of your head. And then you can release the arms down at the sides, letting the chest pull open. If you'd like, and if it's better for your lower back, you can bring the feet out wide and let the knees fall in towards each other. Alternatively, you can bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees fall out wide. Or you can just have the legs down straight as if you were in Shavasana. Whatever's most comfortable for you here. Still not quite perfect. You can also always do this if this is way too intense for you. You can roll up a blanket or a towel and just place that along the spine so that you still get that feeling of the chest peeling open around it. And just breathing here. Now, some people find that heart openers make them uncomfortable. This is totally normal. It just sort of depends on the person. I'm fine in a heart opener, whereas for a hip opener, I'm ready to rage or weep, one or the other, maybe both. So just seeing what's coming up for you. If you're feeling suddenly really exposed and uncomfortable, if you feel really unsafe, then please do leave the pose and find something that feels a little bit more comfortable for you, perhaps just regular Shavasana. But if it's something that's just a little bit uncomfortable, try and just stick with it for a minute. Take a few deep breaths into the chest, making sure that the breath stays moving in and out through the nose when you start to feel stressed or panicky. As this kind of breathing will switch on the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's that fight or flight response. That's why in some positions that are a little bit more taxing physically, you do find you want to start breathing through the mouth. But this almost can make it worse a little bit, as you do start to feel that fight or flight response. So just trying to keep the breath as calm as possible, in and out through the nose. And again, bringing your attention into the heart space here. Noticing how open this space feels right now. Perhaps after this practice, if it was quite intense or sweaty for you, maybe this feels like just a nice melting. Maybe you found the practice to be a little bit more chill for where you're at physically. So maybe you're still finding that the mind is racing a lot here and you're still kind of revving to go. No wrong answers here. Whichever you feel is exactly what you're meant to be feeling. And I invite you to just deepen the breath. And notice in the body if there's a place of gripping or tension. Perhaps you can just breathe into that space and just let that go. Maybe the mind is particularly busy with a problem at work or at home, something that you've been overthinking, stressing about all day long. And just knowing that we only have a few minutes left in today's practice, so anything you're trying to work out or that you're stressed about, it can be there when you're done. You can take a few minutes and just let it go for now. You can come right back to it. The problem may not be solved, but at least you'll be coming with it with a fresh mind. So just trying to let go. Opening the heart. Allowing the energy of the universe to come through into your heart space. Feeling lighter, more free. If you'd like, you can stay here for your Shavasana. If not, you can start to very slowly and carefully roll onto your side and remove your blocks. And then we're just going to roll right back down, standing out into your Shavasana. As always, if this doesn't feel safe for you, you can always take Shavasana on the belly, or you can come into the fetal position if this is too hard on your back. The options are open. Find what's right for you. Just a resting pose, or you can just let the practice sink into your body and let your body sink into the earth, held and safe. Just letting go. Relaxing. Judgment. Just bringing the attention back to the breath. hands up. And you can roll over either to the right side or to the left side if you have low blood pressure. To your fetal position. Using the bottom arm as a pillow, just resting here for a moment. And when you're ready, just slowly pressing yourself up. And coming back to a seated position here. Closed or soft. Hands come to Anjali Mudra, heart center. You can place the hands flat on the chest, pressing into the heart. Taking a moment here to thank yourself for taking time out of your day to do something that is good for you. Because if you're not taking care of you, who else will, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. You need to ensure that you are taken care of and at your fullest before you can take care of others. Please remember to care for yourself. And sending your next breath into the heart space. Feeling boundless gratitude, not only just for the organ that keeps you alive, but for the space in general to feel happiness and joy and love. Just making a promise to yourself to try to do your best to live in these moments of joy and happiness, however big or small. Stopping and smelling the roses, if you will. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. The divine in me honors, acknowledges, and bows to the divine in you. Namaste. Thank you guys so much for joining me again. As I said at the beginning, a very, very happy Diwali to our friends that will be celebrating. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I hope you've had a great week and have a great week coming up. I really so appreciate each and every one of you that joins me here. Please, please engage in the comments and let me know what you would like to see, or just say hi if that's all you want to do. Ask me any questions. It can be about yoga, it can be about cats. I'm happy to chat. Let me know if you would like to hop over to Instagram. You can find me at all one word, Harmonious Hippy, and I would love to engage with you on that platform as well. Please like this video if you enjoyed this practice today, and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I post a new video every Saturday and occasionally during the week if the mood strikes. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you, and just know that you are so important to me. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Namaste.